Morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 on a Tuesday morning. We are recording. 5:30 in the morning means it is time for us to draw another toy from the toy box, a random object from the Random Object Randomogrifier. I'm just going to spritz these watercolors real quick, make sure they're nice and juicy and moist for later when it comes time to do that part. We want them nice and soft so we don't have to scrub at them. This morning's object is a saxophone. That music to me is loud. I don't know if it's loud to you guys or not, but it's loud to me, so I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. So this morning's random object from the Random Object Randomogrifier is a saxophone. The name of the show is Sketching and Coffee, so there will be coffee drinks. See, let's turn it sideways. That thing is long and it's laying on its side. Let's turn the book sideways. All right. Saxophone. Just kind of a jazzy clarinet. Woodwind, not a brass. Even though it's made of brass, it is a woodwind because it has a single reed. You're not brassing your lips, you're not pursing your lips to play it. You blow through it. And its design is very much like a clarinet. It was made by Adolphe Sax. But you know, what are the odds that a saxophone would be invented by a guy named Sax? I thought that was pretty whack in and of itself. But this guy liked the clarinet, but he wanted it to have more pizzazz, if you will. He wanted it to have more strength, like a trumpet. And so he decided to redesign it just a little bit. And he took the clarinet and he put it into the clarinet workings, and he put it into a brass body with a cone feature instead of a straight tube. It's a cone feature. And added the bell on the end to flare it out. What he got was an instrument that could play soft, smooth music like a clarinet, or it could blast scream like a trumpet, something in between. And people loved it. Not all people. It was snubbed by most orchestras and bands at the beginning because they are gatekeepers. They don't let new stuff in. We've been playing these musics for hundreds of years, and we don't need no newfangled instruments. Well, they thought they didn't need any newfangled instruments until he took it to the French. He invented it in French. He's from Belgium, and he invented it in France. And he took it to the French military band, where he had connections. The blocking was pretty simple. I mean, it's basically just a big triangle with a bell right there. So the blocking was pretty simple. So I'm going back now with some details. I'm trying to understand how some of these details work on here, because there's a lot of shapes going on here. Like, it's more narrow here and it's broader there, and it's more, there's just a lot of shapes going on to understand. Oh geez, I about sneezed all over the place right then. Probably should have. That's going to come back and bite me. But I'm trying to understand what these shapes are doing, because they're all over the place for me. Anyway, he had connections with the French military band, and he took it to them and he said, "Hey, try this in your next competition." And they did, and they won Battle of the Bands. a for real Battle of the Bands, military style music competition, and that cemented it into the French orchestra, the French military orchestra band. Not just one saxophone. There is the tenor, alto, and baritone saxophone, and apparently there's another type of saxophone, but it's not very popular. But my question was, is if it wasn't accepted by the orchestras, even outside of the even with the acceptance of the military, how did it become famous? How did it pick up and gain the world attention that it gained? Because why didn't it just go the way? There's other instruments out there that have done this, like the piano or the accordion. Why didn't it just disappear into obscurity after that event? And that is because of World War I. Soldiers were introduced to the saxophone. The American GIs and the public were introduced to the saxophone during World War I, and there were a surplus of them after the war. There were a bunch of them made for the war, and there were a surplus of them, so they were cheap. Lots of guys just brought their instruments back and pawned them. So they were cheap. You could find lots of them around. They were relatively easy to learn how to play, but difficult to master. So they made a lot of front porch music, which immediately brought them into the jazz scene. Now you've got all these guys that are exposed to saxophones in France in World War I. You've got them bringing them home, showing them to their friends. Their friends are going, "That's really cool. Can you play this?" And their clarinet buddies are going, "It's not fair. You're cooler than us, man." But it was right at the dawn of the jazz era, right at the dawn of the rock and roll era. Couldn't have been better timing. So enter the saxophone. The alto sax is the most popular, if memory serves me right. Alto sax is that deep growling sax that you hear, but the tenor sax is the one that makes everybody swoon. The tenor sax is the one they used in the Pink Panther. The tenor sax is the one they used in Yakety Sax and Careless Whisper. My mom's in the chat room saying that she thinks the alto sax is the most popular. I would have thought the alto sax would have been the most popular. I actually thought it was the baritone sax that was going to be more popular than anything, but it turns out that it was the tenor sax. Now, I could be wrong on that one, because search engines, that was one of the first questions I asked, and the search engines are a bit biased. Out of ink? I don't think I'm out of ink. Nope, I'm not out of ink. The search engines are a bit biased. Almost as though they were run by a clarinet player. So it could be that it was the alto sax. My mom's a clarinet player. If you're wondering why I keep digging on the clarinet players, my mom is a clarinet player. And she said I made her dog growl. She says she's talking to me in my ear, telling me, "We're not all bad. You made my dog growl." My daughter, girl one, is also a clarinet player. She played the same clarinet that my mom played. I mean, physically the same one. She played my mom's clarinet. I was thinking how cool it would be to pick a different instrument every year on my birthday and just spend a year learning how to play it. And I thought that I might choose the tenor sax. I thought that would be a neat experiment and a way to uh, stay engaged in music. Can't talk, Arting. There's a lot of little structures here. Because I don't play saxophone or clarinet, there are a lot of structures here that I don't really understand what are going on. And you just have to trust that you're drawing what's there and that it makes sense. My dad's one of those people who can just pick up any instrument whatsoever and just start playing. I can do that to some extent, but it's usually I'll play something like Mary Had a Little Lamb and say, okay, I've got it. My grandpa always used to play, I think it was Silent Night. I think Silent Night is what my grandpa used to always do. If he could play Silent Night, he felt like he had an instrument under. He had everything he needed to know from the instrument. But I usually pick up with either Mary Had a Little Lamb or Ode to Joy. Sometimes Chariots of Fire. All right. But yeah, by the 50s, you had saxophones in all the jazz bands, you had saxophones in all the rock bands. I mean, you look at Tequila, for instance. It's the same sax riff over and over, and it only has one lyric, and it made it to the top of the charts. Dun, 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 dun. Saxophone all the way, man. Made it to the top of the charts. Dun, 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 dun. Tequila. Yakety Sax wasn't far after that. Bill Haley and the Comets bringing saxophone into Rock Around the Clock. So, I mean, it took off. It gained popularity. People loved it. I struggle with things like Kenny G. I think Kenny G Man, I know Kenny G is good at what he does, but I mean, how does anybody really listen to that? I mean, that's just sleeper music. And you got so many other good songs, good, exciting songs out there, like Tequila. You got bands out there like The Cull playing Let the Day Begin and all the sax that's involved in that. And I'm not trying to anger the Kenny G fans. It's sleeper music. It's if I put it on to try to romance my wife, she will fall asleep. Do 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 do. Do do do. All right. I think we're coming up pretty close. Yeah, saxophone made the big bands. The baritone and altos really brought out the uh, the big band scene. Really rounded out the big band scene. According to my Google searches. Now, keep in mind, I did not live through this. I did not. I wasn't there. The 50s is not my era. I was born in the 70s. The big band era, not my era. But I did grow up watching Lawrence Welk with my grandparents. Thank you, boys. Okay. All right, let's go for some ogre on that one. They could make the crowd dance fast or lovingly slow. My mom's just Kenny G's dad thought he was crazy to try and make a living playing the sax. My mom must be searching up Google, playing on the Google machine, or she's way too familiar with Kenny G. I think that's true with most musicians and artists, Mom. Kenny G's dad was like, "You can't make a living doing this. You need to go." If you're going to try and make a living in music, you need to go do something more serious like a trumpet, clarinet. We have a little issue here because the bell, I need to bring this bell to this side. The bell is the same color wise and shadow wise. The bell is on this side, and I need to bring the bell to this side. So let's see if I can do that without causing too much trouble. I'm just gonna add a little shade to the inside, to the lip of that bell, and that should turn it away. But then I have to darken this area right here like that. That should turn it away. Now, we should be okay with that. Let me dry that real quick. Next to my French horn player, of course. My mom says she loves a good saxophone player next to a good French horn player, of course. Let me dry this real quick. I do love me some good saxophone. Good saxophone music. That's enough. That's enough hair drying to keep Ivy happy. So my mom's in the chat room and she's talking about how they could go from the it could make the crowd dance fast or slow. They made the big bands rock. All of that is true. That their wide range is what makes them so incredibly popular. Because just like she said, they can go from a soft cry to a loud scream in an instant. And that lends itself to a wide range of music. Country singers have used it. Jazz singers have used it. Rock and roll. Obviously rock and roll and jazz because they have the reputation for the freedom that comes with playing an instrument as diverse as the saxophone. But you got, you went from tequila to yakety sax to the Pink Panther theme, Henry Mancini and all of his cool stuff. You had Benny Hill using yakety sax as his theme song, made it an instant classic when it might have been a little bit more obscure to some crowds, but it brought it back to the forefront in the 70s. Have some pretty famous people in the world playing saxophone. Bill Clinton played the saxophone famously on television. Dana Carvey plays saxophone. Condoleezza Rice plays saxophone. Jennifer Garner plays saxophone. Kirk Hammett, the lead guitarist for Metallica, played saxophone. Credits the saxophone with his love of music because he played it in high school band. Out of all the kids in high school band, there are about 150,000 saxophone players every year in high school bands. In a country, it sounds like a lot of kids, but in a country with 350 million people, 150,000 kids is not very many kids at all. I think there's more than 150,000 kids in my son's high school. There's a lot of kids. No, seriously though, 150,000 kids is not a lot of kids in a country with 350 million people in it. You would think that there would be a lot more, but that explains why they're not why the street corners aren't littered with sax players looking for handouts. You'd expect, you know, you would expect with the popularity of sax, you would expect there to be a guy in a velvet jacket on every street corner with sunglasses, with a hat out. But there's a lot more violinists doing that than sax players. What is today? 15th? I will say this, Careless Whisper, you know, I mentioned some songs earlier. Careless Whisper is one of my go-to songs for saxophone. And that's George Michael. And I think that is a fantastic sax riff. And it stinks that they wasted it on a breakup song, because it is a super sexy sax riff, if you will. And you can't play it as a dance groove with you and your sweetheart, because it's a song about how he cheated on her and got caught, and he'll never going to dance the same. And I'm never gonna dance the same. Guilty feet have got no rhythm. Anyway, so there is my version of the saxophone. Let me get this camera down here real quick, and we'll see how I did from my perspective. Figure out how to turn this mic off every day. Every day, this mic is an issue every day. And then we'll stop this recording and safely eject this. When you think of band, Mom says, when you think of band, you think of brass instruments. Yeah. But clarinets are in band. Woodwinds are in band. Bassoons, tubas, all that stuff. Tubas and trumpets and French horns and bassoon and clarinets. Subtle hint. Woot. Okay, so there's my illustration of the saxophone. We'll put that there. That's what we did today. The little girl has already pulled an egg for tomorrow. Let's see what she pulled for us to do. It's a chauffeur. It's a female chauffeur. No, it's not either. It's a pilot. It's a female pilot. It says it on her butt that she's a pilot. Apparently, I bought a set of women in industry. So there is what the little girl pulled for us today. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're doing Wednesday, July 16th. So if you're watching this Wednesday, July 16th, and it's before 5:30 in the morning, this is the trailer, and we're about to do this. So stick around and we'll get right on it. But for the rest of us, that concludes today's episode of Sketching and Coffee in the Morning. Thank you so much for joining me. You know, I look forward to it every day when I get to come down here and I get to art with my besties and be accountable to my art practice. Be sure and tune in tomorrow, same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And we dance. We dance till somebody says they see me dancing, because once they see me dancing, then I know that the lag has caught up to the stream, and that way I know